Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know why did I say good evening,
It's
but
Friday.
welcome to Career Care Package, daily LinkedIn live show, where we inspire you to, to look after your job search, look after your career in an uncertain times. And today we are answering your questions to find a job in Australia. And to answer your question, we've got Caroline Brown, and also to discuss a real life success story about finding a job. We got Archita here. But before we bring Archita to answer the questions, and you're more than welcome to also send questions for Archita as well, because she's here. She can answer those questions, for you as well. But before we start to talk to Archita, let's welcome Caroline Brown, the co-host of the show.
Thanks, Nash. Have you worked out where you are? It's the afternoon. It's Melbourne. It's 3 o'clock. It's Friday. That explains it. So, yeah, fantastic to be here and welcome, Archita. And we're really excited to have a chat to you today about because you've got some exciting news in terms of finding a graduate role in a difficult time, and I'm sure people will have a lot of questions for you. So if you're watching this, please say hello to Archita. Alan already has said hello, and somebody that's a LinkedIn user is probably on a phone or something. I'm not sure who you are, but hello everyone.
No, his name is Azhar. His
Azar.
name is
Okay, great to
Azhar.
see you.
Yeah.
Azar. And Balan's in. Hi, Balan. Good to see you as well. So we've got Archita on the under the spotlight today to talk about the harsh spotlight to talk about how you actually found a job, and big congratulations.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, and it's good to be on the other side of the fence. I was watching your show a week before, and I'm on the show, so it's good to be here. I would love to provide as much insight as I can to everyone.
Fantastic. So tell us how it came about. So you graduate accountant. How long had you been looking for a job, and what are some of the obstacles that you faced?
Right. So I graduated in July this year. I started my job search. On, I believe, 9th of June, because that's when my last assignment ended, and definitely a lot of hurdles because it was a difficult time. And whenever I was opening up my news feed on LinkedIn, I would hear about somebody being laid off, and these were the people who had tons and tons of experience. Um, got a lot of rejections as well, but there was good news as well. People were getting new opportunities after being laid off, and there were tons of opportunities. I mean, reasonable amount of opportunities available on LinkedIn jobs and websites like Seek. And frankly, I had no option to focus on the negative, so I stuck to those reasonable amount of opportunities.
Archita, I might get you to speak a little bit closer to the screen if you can. Just having a little bit of trouble hearing you, I think.
Is that better?
Yeah, that is better.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were looking on Seek and LinkedIn, did you say? And there was a lot of competition at that time, but people were still advertising. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So I'm just gonna say that I started noticing a pattern in what kind of industries were booming. There are so many industries which are actually benefiting from these circumstances. Companies in IT, pharmaceutical, healthcare, and sanitization. And if I specifically talk about my industry, which is accounting, then businesses really needed advice on job keeper payments and planning ahead after these circumstances get over. So naturally, public accounting was booming, and that's where I landed my job.
Fantastic. And what do you think made you stand out amongst other graduates? What did you really promote about yourself?
I believe in larger scheme of things, everything that I did in my university, be it volunteering work, casual work, my internships, and even my work, a little bit of my work in India, helped me. Being consistent in giving my best throughout that helped me. But to be specific, I would say a good CV and a resume, because we really need to translate the acquired skills for the hiring manager and tell them how we best fit the job description. So that's one. And number two, and the most important, I believe, is talking to a lot of people. I did not benefit from that immediately in terms of landing up a job through them, but I always picked up a little bit of those golden nuggets, which helped me maybe revamp my strategy or my CV or my cover letter. Trust me, I revamped my cover letter and resume tons of time.
Mm.
Yeah, these were the two
So are
things
you
that I
picking up knowledge from people and revamping it or re-highlighting different things on your CV
did.
to, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And who did you seek out as part of that kind of networking?
Mm. So I mostly focused on finding people in my industry, but I was not limited to that. I was
Mm.
also talking to people from other industries, maybe peripheral industries like cybersecurity, because I believe that everyone has certain kind of knowledge which could benefit you. Like I learned a lot from a particular recruiter in cybersecurity on how to be more present on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And I also talk to a lot of my seniors because they've gone through this process, and they had some advice or the other, so I picked up which resonated the most with me and left out the noise. Yeah.
Mm. That makes sense.
Excellent. So just wanted to welcome Alan, Balin, Ananya, Rahul, Imtiaz, Ranjita, and Poonam, and Azhar and Balkrishna. Welcome to the show. Please feel free to drop in your comments or questions for Archita. Actually, a couple of questions around, me and Caroline, always talk about the focus in the job search. That means you got to have, pretty good clarity of where do you want to aim, looking for work. Did you really kind of, did some work on around, what kind of role do you want to focus on? And did you change that throughout this process, or did you stick to your plan?
Right. So in this process, initially I felt lost in understanding what kind of jobs can I fulfill the best. But as I started talking to more and more people, I understood that graduate accountant role is what I fit the best. And by the end of it, I was only focusing on graduate accountant. So that's also my advice to a lot of freshers, a lot of graduates, to focus on just one thing, uh, and not, as we say, jack of all trades is master of none. So I just focused on that, and that really helped me. Yeah.
So did you have prior experience before coming to Australia as an international student that you integrated into your CV, or is this sort of your first professional role?
This is actually my first full-time professional role. Before
Mhm.
this, back in India, as I was doing my bachelor's, I started pursuing chartered accountancy, and through that, I just interned for a while under a chartered accountant, but that was all.
Yeah, okay.
Did you intern here? Did you do any work experience or volunteering, in accounting here in Australia?
Yeah, I did. I actually did two internships as I was approaching the end of my graduation. I did one during my summer vacation and then in my last semester as part of my will placement. So those were the two internships, and that really actually helped me form the base for me to find a full time opportunity.
How did they help, Archita? Did they help with what you put on your resume, or did they help with references and things like that? If you maybe sort of drill down into that bit and tell people how the internships helped you.
Right. So these internships actually help you understand the kind of work you will eventually do. So one internship was more into public accounting, and that's what I'm gonna, also progress further in. For example, filing VAT returns, filing income tax returns for people, giving business advices, setting up cloud computing. And my second internship was more towards into management accounting, so helping various departments inside an organization, like account receivable, accounts payable. So that was more into technical aspect, but it also helps you understand the kind of culture you can expect in a full-time job role in Australia. And
Mm.
that is really important. You work on a lot of soft skills, like communication. I believe if you have good communication skills, it can truly help you in getting a job. And that also came from a lot of casual work that I did in my university, and volunteering work. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
So when did you really start to work on the on your job search? Because you know I think July in 2020 is a very bad kind of what to say, year to or in the month to graduate. I think hopefully July was good because it was just starting to, at least in Victoria, just starting to open up, and then it suddenly started to close down again. Tell us, when did you actually start to work on your job search? Was it 6 months back that you started to really put some scaffolding in place, or did you just start after you graduated?
Right. Uh, at the back of my head, I'd say it was always in my head that I wanted a full time job and I should start laying foundation right from the start. So all the casual work and all the internships that I did was sort of those small, pieces of work towards that. Uh, but if I say seriously, just focusing on finding a professional job was only after I finished my last assignment. So that's when I got into that zone, and I fully focused on that, and I did not care about finding another casual job, because I knew that if I was going to start working into a casual role, I wouldn't be able to focus on this one. And a lot of my seniors advised me that. You should at least give it 4 to 6 months of undivided attention. So that's what I did, and I would also add that it also depends on individuals' circumstances. I was very fortunate enough that my parents could, support me financially. So that really helped me to just give my all to just finding a professional work.
And what kind of routine? I feel like we're like dissecting everything that you did, but I'm hoping that that will be really useful to people. But so, in terms of a routine, did you have a routine around looking for a job? Like there were certain things that you'd do at certain times, or were you kind of a bit random? How did that work for you?
I did have a rough structure. I wouldn't really plan on to divide my work on an hourly basis, but I would definitely sit from maybe 9 to 5, roughly, and do what I feel like in those hours, but just to contribute towards my either applying for jobs or maybe making myself more industry relevant. So I would read up a lot of things, I would listen to a lot of podcasts, and I applied to jobs when I wanted to. I didn't really apply to 1,000 of applications because
Mm,
that did not resonated with me and it was too exhausting. Uh,
mm,
Equally important to take care of our mental health and
mm,
physical health. So at 5, I would just shut down my laptop and probably go for a walk
mm.
near mountains or something. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
was my
And did you ever have a period where you thought it wasn't going to happen for you and needed to pick yourself up?
so many.
Probably every day.
Yeah, and there were times. There was actually one specific incident where I was so hopeful that I'll get it. I was really close to getting that job, and I got rejected at, I believe, second last stage. I called up my parents and my brother, and I cried in front of them. And I was like, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do it. But at that time, my parents really helped me bring back that hope. So I started working on it again. And actually, the next morning, I got a call for the interview at this place where I got the
Mm,
job.
mm.
And within weeks, things changed.
Yeah, it's funny how things can just turn really quickly. So,
Yeah.
you can go from the deepest mountain to the deepest mountain. What am I saying? It's Friday. Deepest valley to the highest mountain. I've got the Nashad disease today.
Oh, oh God, KB. Now, obviously, the question for Archita is, how did you find the motivation to pursue your job search efforts when you felt like it was too much? Look, Imtiaz, I think one of the things that Archita did was she listened to our 3 p.m. broadcast every day. That's what really helped her. Okay. Now, I've just read Archita's mind. This is what she was going to say because we prepped her to say this. Okay, I prepped her. Then Archita, please make sure that you do that. But Archita, please answer this question because I think it is I think on a very serious note, job search even before COVID happened, it's not a great experience. It is a very, sometimes it just pulls you down, and like literally, you don't know what else to do, and COVID-19 times is extra challenging. I was listening to Caroline, Chita, I was listening to the one National Skills Commission and their webinar, and they said that there were around 500,000 unemployed before COVID. Now there are 500,000 more. Now these things are, I just, as we have said on numerous occasions, these are absolutely mind-numbing numbers, and the experience of job seekers, we can't even explain that into words. So give us a picture of that. What really kind of kept you moving, apart from obviously you've got your tremendous support from your family, who really pulled you back and gave that hope. What other things that you did where you draw inspiration and energy from?
Mm. Um, on this, I would say two things. One is talking to people who have been through this journey and who are going through this journey, because you would notice that you're not alone. And I have come across people who've struggled for so long and eventually they have succeeded. So being patient and listening, you know drive driving patients through their story was number one, and also sharing my own journey on LinkedIn. People would comment on my posts and people would approach and send me DMs and offer their help in some way or the other. So uh, those two things really helped me keep my motivation up. And there's always positive and negative in a situation. It depends on us on what to focus on. So I wanted to just focus on those reasonable amount of opportunities that were still there on Seek and LinkedIn. And yeah, so that kept me going.
Yeah. Did you reach out to people that you didn't know on LinkedIn? Did you do a lot of that kind of networking?
I believe that was the only option, sitting at home doing it virtually. So I approached a lot of people like that. And I did it in a way that didn't feel abrupt. Before approaching them, I would study their profiles like Bible, because I would study, where they've worked. And even if there's a gap in between their two jobs, I would try to find out what was the reason, what are they passionate about. I would read up their posts, and that I would prepare a few questions before approaching them and make it a personalized note. So that's how I approach people, and a lot of people agreed to have a virtual coffee catch up with me.
That's fantastic. And how many, I think this would be really useful for people to know, because I work with people to do that approach. And I know a lot of people really struggle with reaching out to people that they don't know and, seeking out advice. What kind of success rate did you get? Was it 50%, 60, 10%?
Yeah, less than 50%.
Because that's not bad. That's
not bad. Because you never know what the other person is going through. They're professionals and they might be really busy. It's not always that they're mean or they really don't want to help. It's just that everyone is working professionals, and some people who could take out some time came back to me.
I think it's a funny thing, because I think a 50% strike rate or around that is actually pretty good. And for people that are reaching out to other people that they don't know, that's useful to know because you can beat yourself up and think that nobody's going to reply to you. But if you know, well, roughly about half will, then if you don't get that, you might need to modify something like who you're targeting or how you're approaching. And if you get more than that, you're doing really well. So, yeah, it's a great sort of benchmark to work off.
Yeah, and I would say one should not take rejection personally. I have done that.
Yeah,
It's not nice.
yeah.
So not taking that personally, and also doing your own work, doing your own research before approaching, uh, can actually increase your chances of getting a reply back.
Yeah.
Well, I've tried that. I tried to use that philosophy that don't take rejections personally on my son, and that didn't go out really well, honestly. But coming to this question around networking, so what did you ask them? What did you really ask them? And how many people agreed to come and have a chat, not replied just, but how many people agreed to have a chat with you, and how did you manage the logistics? And what kind of questions did you prepare? How did you prepare yourself? And were they sort of primarily from the vocation that you want to get into, or they were just more broader in your approach?
I would just okay. So there are two approaches to it. I would look at people who are appearing in my LinkedIn news feed, and if they seem interesting to me and if they belong to my industry, I would read up their profiles. I would read up their posts, and there's always some character to people's profile. It's important to pick that up and make your message interesting. That could hook them up to reply back to you once that. And the other way is, for example, I got to know about this particular gentleman on CPA's website. I was listening to his podcast, and there was something about him. He was very authentic in his speech. So I just looked him up online on LinkedIn. And I also got to know that he has advertised a graduate accountant role in his own company. And he hasn't had advertised that on any other website, even on Seek. So you also come across such opportunities through being relevant. So those were the two approaches that I took up to finding people, and not just from my industry, but from people belonging to other industry, um, people who have just certain character, and that's very interesting. And I thought, using my own rationale, I thought they could really help me with something. So I approached them.
Wow. It's a funny thing, just going back to sending out emails or contacts and the rejection. One of my clients the other day sent an email to a partner at KPMG and didn't get a reply. So we went and followed up, and he got an interview with that guy. And so, even that act of just pushing the email back up to the top of the email list prompted a call. So if you're worried about rejection, it's also worthwhile just having one other little go to see whether you can get somebody's attention as well, because there's a story that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't done that. So I love the fact that you've reached out. I think it's a great approach to take, because you get such richness of information back from. So did you met with people over Zoom? Is that how you connected with people, or did you call them?
Right.
Or?
So I just kept my options open. I would, pass the ball in their court. I would give them the option of Zoom, a phone call, or a Microsoft Team meetings, anything that they're comfortable with. Because their time is precious. We are the ones who are seeking advice. So I would always ask them.
Fantastic.
There is such a great way to talk to think about that, because I think people in our experience, mine and Caroline's experience is, and also this is evidenced by many people who get jobs through networking, is that if you respect the time, if you consider that they are giving a gift of their knowledge, I think people open up their heart to other people if they feel that there's some genuineness around it. At the bottom of it, we all know, they all know that you are here because you are looking for work. But despite knowing that, you still wrap around those questions, and you still wrap around that communication, not from a from a point of view of a position, that because I'm an international student, or because I've lost my job and somebody needs to help me. I think people literally push back, and that's really something that that people can take on from that. So now tell us about the job that you got. Obviously, how many rounds of interview you had? And one of the other question, Imtiaz, don't just talk about Caroline asking great questions. Okay, I want
No,
you to
you
listen.
can.
I want you to listen to my questions also, Imtiaz. Otherwise, I'll block your number. One of the things that I want to sort of ask you is that the question around the experience question, right? Local experience is probably the most frequently asked question in Australia after, I don't know why everyone likes Vegemite. So second most question asked is, the local experience or the experience question. Tell us,
Right.
if you came across with this in this interview or the other ones, how did you encounter those questions?
First of all, I would like to address that the interview was not just about my experience in the accounting industry. It also included questions from my experience in casual roles and volunteering. So that's really important to note, because very early on, as I started my degree, I understood that job market in Australia is very skill based. So no matter what job you do, you pick up some skills and you can actually use that to get in your next best opportunity. And in my interview, I was asked questions like, would you be able to handle clients face to face? And my answer was definitely, because I've done a lot of casual customer service representative roles in my university, where I handled people from 50, in numbers of 50 to 150, and that experience came from my casual role rather than my internship. you know and the other question was, how was my experience doing a degree in Australia? So the answer here was a bit technical, in terms of my studies, and I just answered that it was all right, because I was pursuing the same kind of education back in India, but the real adjustment was the education system, because it's so different back in India and here in Australia. So these interviews are a mix of everything. You never know what can help you where. So it's always best to give in, your 100% at every job that you do.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting because I think, because your role's in Cobram, and the fit in those places is really important because it's not a big place. So I wonder whether they're curious about, who you are as a person and how you're going to adjust, and just getting to know you better as well. So was your interview over Zoom?
It was over Microsoft Teams.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how did that feel?
I think I was okay with it, because I did my last semester online,
Yeah.
and I was able to get a hang of it, and I was able to build good rapport with my teachers in my last semester. So I was prepared for it, and I believe it saves a lot of time doing it, virtually. So it was all right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Excellent. If you got questions, to us, please throw it in. Your questions, and we will answer them for you as well, while we are also, asking Archita the difficult question, or dissecting her success as well. So please throw in questions, to us as well. Secondly, Archita, is around the resume, right? Now, did you get any professional help? Did you do it just by yourself, or how did you pick up the important bits and pieces about resume?
So as I was telling you that I talked to a lot of people, uh, when I started my job search, my resume was not good, and I can clearly admit that. My resume was long, my cover letter was long, and it needed a lot of improvement. But as I started talking to a lot of people who've been through that process, those little golden nuggets, I picked them out, and I changed my resume 360 degrees. And advices like focusing on the things that you've done the best in your resume will help you shine out. And a lot of times people do not understand how to do that. So even if somebody needs professional help, that's all right. If somebody can shorten your process of finding a job, that's all right. And mentors come in various shapes and forms. You could either pay for them, or you could just talk to seniors, or you could talk to people in the industry. It really depends on what's your approach. So I definitely change it a lot of times, and I focus more on my uh, skills that were the best, my academic grades that were the best, my internships, and quantifying the results that I got during those internships. So these little things I picked out from a lot of people's advice.
Excellent. That's very great. Intia says would love more success stories. I should bring them on. Yes, there's. I think we will probably have one more coming up, not next week, but the following week, as well. And if you know somebody who got a job, in these times, and if you think that they would be great, to connect with us, and we would definitely love to have a chat with them, because the more the different approaches that we can learn about how people are really finding a way around networking, directly approaching employers, or just through applying through online jobs, or either or. We would love to hear from them. If you know somebody who's got a job recently, please ask them to get in touch with us, or send me and Caroline their details, and we will make sure that we will target our emails to them. All right,
So,
so
a question from Navjot
yeah.
said, if a recruiter asks how is your job search going, what does it mean? What do you reckon,
Uh,
Nash? Oh, actually, go for it, Archita.
Go
You've
for it,
just
Shida.
yeah, go ahead. I thought you were posing the question to me. How is your job search going? I mean, you could tell them how it is going actually. Just, is it going good? What are your struggles? You could just share how things are going, and they could really advise you on what should you do on your strategy. Just be honest, be authentic.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny question because I guess sometimes it's a bit of an icebreaker question. Sometimes recruiters are asking that because they want to know how far along you might be if you're getting other offers as well. So, and where their offer might stand in relation to that. Um, Sometimes there's a bit of, if you've had hundreds of interviews and you're not getting a job, it's kind of assessing, who you are as well. But I would just take it, like, I love what you said there, Achita, of just, being authentic around, how it's going. So if you're at a graduate level, you're expected to be out there and looking for jobs and, being proactive and assessing your fit and that type of thing. But I'd also, with that question, you're in the driver's seat. You're presenting some value to the table. So there's nothing wrong with saying or positioning yourself as somebody who's really looking for the right match for yourself as well, because that gives some of the power back to you in that scenario. So keep in mind that if you're asked those sorts of questions on the job hunt.
Absolutely. I think that that's both of you are absolutely right. Sometimes recruiters also ask that to just to gauge how things are traveling with you, and especially right now, Navjot, if I can ask you, I think we have all seen that there is a truckload of empathy available right now. People are more sensitive to how other people are traveling, right now. So I think that most likely how the question comes from would come from a place of concern or place of curiosity, rather than finding out anything undue about your job search process. The only thing that I suggest, my suggestion is to not give them, even though the job search isn't going so great for you and you're not getting anywhere with it. Please avoid putting in too much of that out there to them, because you know traditionally, recruiters or anybody else would just find it difficult to handle that emotion, because I don't know, if you say that, look, I've got only $1,000 left in my account, and if I don't get a job, I'll be doing X, Y, and Z. For me, I don't know how to handle that then, because then it's also moral responsibility for me. It comes that maybe I should do something for me, right? And then I might regret that why did I ask that question. So I think you have to be very careful in answering that question. I'm all for you being genuine about it, but you don't need to really tell them everything about that too, because you don't know what's their rationale in asking that question. So now we got one more question. Archita, and you are the star for the show, so that's really good. So next Friday, if you want to join us, please feel free to let us know.
Would love
um,
to.
how did she how did she tackle salary expectation question, and did you ask for more, less, or gave a raw figure? So did it come about? Because that's another very tricky thing, especially as
Right.
a graduate, because A, you don't want to lose the job, and B, you don't want to work also for something that you will regret also. So you got to find that balance. So tell us how, what were your thing? Did you do some research for salary expectations before?
Yeah, I pretty much asked everything from my seniors, I would say. So, with regards to salary expectation, the number one thing is to never talk about it yourself on the first go. In your interview, never ask about it. They will come to that once they like you. So that's the point when you can actually, even if you need to negotiate, you can, but keeping in mind what is the job market that usually offers. So I talked to my seniors, and they said for graduate roles, you should expect somewhere between 50 to 55K. So I kept that in my mind, and if somebody asked me what are my salary expectations, I would always quote that range. Not giving any specific number, not anything less or more. So that's one. And then also, you have to understand that everyone's struggling right now. There are more number of job seekers than job providers, so that number gets adjusted somewhere or the other. So those are my two tips on salary expectation.
So generally, they would bring that up at some point in the interview.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because if that's the first question you ask when you're picking up the phone, then that's what they think that you're focused on, and you don't get the opportunity to. I mean, you're probably applying for jobs in that range. I'm just speaking generally now, but you don't get the. If that's your first question, it can often be your last question, and you don't get the opportunity to negotiate. Um,
Mm.
that's your number one criteria, basically. So yeah, good
Yeah, and
strategy.
especially for graduates, I think we should be more focused on learning because people are going to invest in you. Um, you know, Theoretical based learning is very different from practical. They're going to
Mm.
invest in you, so focus should be more on learning than the salary. Of course, not stooping too low is also a point, but that should be reasonable within reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. If you got more questions for me, Caroline or Archita, please drop it in. We don't have a lot of time before we open up. I don't know. I have my chai, and whatever the other people have their drinks. It's not a long to go, but please drop in your questions. And also, we also like to take this opportunity to ask you if you want us to tackle a particular subject as well. We have tackled, I think, in 126 episodes, we've tackled a lot. But if you want us to talk about anything specific, except selection criteria, by the way, that is already set in stone. That's coming up. Don't worry
We've
about
got an
that selection
expert coming up
criteria,
for that.
because
She's so
because we had
busy
to we
that
had to
she's,
prepare we
yeah.
had to prepare mentally also, right, for selection criteria. I'm going to probably have my GP next to me, because if I have got talking about it, my blood pressure shoots up or something. But if you got anything else that you want us to talk about, please drop it in. Please send us a message, and we would love to find an expert who can provide insights in that, and really help propel through this difficult time. Please let us know as well.
I was
Tips
just
for
going to say,
managing job search.
I was
Tips
just
for
going to say,
managing job search. Yeah. Yes,
sorry,
KB.
I was just going to say that actually going back to the selection criteria, um, what I've found is in the marketplace is it's actually a really tough job to do. So it's a tough job for individuals, but it's a tough job for people who are actually writing them professionally. So it has actually taken us a while to find somebody good to bring on the show, and she is actually in demand. So, unlike other people, we've been able to get people on relatively quickly. So we wanted to bring you somebody who's actually really good for that. So if you're struggling to write it, there's a reason for that. They're not easy to write, basically. So, Imtiaz has said tips for managing job search in general, or is that something you'd like us to bring on? I'm assuming.
Sure. But Archita, tell us, apart from what we have discussed so far, anything else that you want, you want to share, things and what people should be doing right now. Tell us anything else that we haven't discussed so far.
Um, if I have to put, my learnings in like 3 to 4 points, I would say first choosing your focus. What kind of jobs are you going to apply, and just be on it. And also, don't ignore, to revisit your strategy once in a while. So that's one. I kept on focusing on, finding a job for graduate accountant. Number two, also having a LinkedIn presence, because a lot of recruiters do approach you. Some also approach you and ghost you, but do not focus on that. So that's two. Three, even if the times are hard, keep yourself relevant. Read, listen to podcasts, because those are also the things where you can also find out about good opportunities. And talking to a lot of people. I think that's the best kind of learning that I have experienced. And number four would be to just hang in there. It's a difficult game. I would not, deny that it is difficult, but it's equally important to be optimistic, as you guys say. And you never know when your dart hits the target, but you're playing this game in darts. Just keep going. So these are the 4 tips that can actually get you going for your job search and keep you organized.
Did
Yeah,
you
no,
find that you
thank
were
you.
ghosted a lot, Archita, with recruiters?
Um, I think I got ghosted twice on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah.
And other kind of ghosting was when I would just apply to a job. The job's advertised like an hour ago, and I would apply for it, and immediately within seconds I would get email replies, automated replies saying we have received a lot of applications, and we will only contact you if you're successful. So that's also sort of a bit of a disappointment. But yeah, just ignore and move.
Yeah, it happens a bit.
All right. Now,
Um,
Archita, can you tell us also, I need to put this in this to so that our egos are inflated. But tell us about the, how did Career Care Package? You listened to some of these episodes. What did you, as a consumer of that, what are some of the things that you learned, or where you have probably validated your ideas and everything?
Right. So I remember this particular episode where Jacob Sher was on your show, and that was the first time I was listening to that show. And he was telling how he also struggled for a while in his job search, and he started blogging about it, and he met a lot of people through it, and eventually he landed a job. So I went up to his blog post and I read about it. So that also sort of gave me a ray of hope. And he has shared a lot of strategies on his website. So that was number one point of contact. And then you guys bring a lot of recruiters. So it's also good to know the other side. We are applying. What are the recruiters thinking about us? What are their expectations? So having to know what their expectations are, we can change our strategy, we can change our resume, which can also shorten up our process. So these were the 2 ways I benefited from career care package.
I'm sure Jacob would be really delighted to know Right? He's a very generous guy with his knowledge as well. So I'll drop him a
Yeah.
little line to say thank you for that. So
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, Navid is asking about the once the COVID-19 situation settle down, will the job market in Australia be back to normal? Look, it's a question I think which is probably on the minds of even politicians too. I think we are probably not privy to some of the information that they have. Here are a couple of things that I can say. If you look at the global financial crisis, it took probably 5 7 years for it to really economy to really come back to that amount of job generation. It did not happen overnight. It won't happen overnight too. Now, this time things are probably far more challenging than this, because it's just not Australia. All over the globe, things are in a dreadful situation. Just not Australia. Global financial crisis. China was pretty healthy at that time, and we continued to do trades with them. This year, this is also deeply impacted by that. Secondly, is that is that these physical the limitations as well poses another greater challenge. At least in global financial care, you can open up the shop and you can still get those things moving. In here, you are not able to do that as well. So I would rather be very very realistic about it. I'm not at all now with or for anyone asking you to drop your balls and say, what, nothing's going to happen. No, it that's not the point. The point is to absolutely be clear that things will be difficult. It's like you go to climb a mountain. You got to be ready with every possible challenges. It's not that it would be easy. You prepare it like that, and that is how I want every one of us to think about it. It's just not about now with you. I think this affects me and Caroline also, because when people do not have enough resources to invest in their career, it also affects me and Caroline too. So we are not kind of in a different situation as you, or someone else. But I want you to focus on is the only thing that will help you out here, the few things that Archita shared. But be diligent about it, be disciplined about finding a job. I'm pretty sure that people will still break through in getting a job now. But keep listening to this, because that's what we want to do, is to give you new and new perspective, and create nuances so that you can hustle and propel through that, David. That's what I will say. Caroline.
Yeah, people are finding jobs. I mean, it is taking longer for a lot of people, but my clients are getting interviews. It's doing similar process to what you did, Ajita, in terms of networking and putting themselves on the front foot. That's a really great strategy during this time. We've also, it might be a time that you need to think about pivoting your career, and we have had people like Richard this week on the show talking about how he volunteered and changed his direction. That was he absolutely needed to do that at that time. But the insights that he shared about the relationships that he built, the rebuild of his self-esteem, his ability to just have a go at different things in that time was, a great strategy in terms of making a career pivot. So have a listen to that. And then the other thing is that I really think as a job seeker in the work, you have a responsibility as much as possible to think about the value that you can offer the employer, how you can make their life easier, how the skills that you have actually are not just there for business as usual, but can actually help them have some sort of breakthrough as an employer or as a manager or as a leader. So those are the things that you want to be presenting about yourself, which in turn will help the economy. I think we've all got a role to play during this time, and that you do, you've got, it might be the organisations that you target as well, startups or, helping businesses accelerate and grow. So think about all of those things, and think about yourself as being in control during this time, not just sort of passively applying and that type of thing. So, but definitely listen to Richard's session on Wednesday, because it was really insightful if you're looking to pivot.
Excellent. All right, that brings us to the end of today's zero hour in the People's Parliament. So thank you again, Archita. Thank you for spending time, and more importantly, thank you for being generous in sharing the insights also. So we wish you all the very best in your new role, and we wish that you continue to prosper and grow.
You're most welcome, and I had a lovely time. Thank you.
And good luck, and come back on at some point and tell us how you're going, because I think
Yeah,
it's completely different job, small country town. It'll be really interesting to see what it's like. Life is there for you, after getting the job.
100%. I would keep you posted.
All
Fantastic.
right, KB, do you want to do the honors of telling people what to
Oh
do
yes,
if
I'm
they have
always
not done
telling
it?
people, don't forget to follow the hashtag Career Care Package. Please subscribe if you're listening to this on Facebook, on YouTube, or give us a thumbs up. And really looking forward to seeing you all next week. On Monday, we've got Alan Gashenby, and it is Friday, so I've forgotten who else is coming up.
That's fine. I'll do the honors. So yes, on next week we are going meeting Alan Gettenby. Alan was the first guest on our show when we started, and today, at that time, we spoke about uncertainty, and this time we are talking about life design. It's a very interesting concept, things that I'm learning in my post graduation as well, about thinking, designing life rather than designing life and career. It's a very fascinating discussion that we are going to have on Monday. Tuesday is a success story, another like Archita. This time we are going to IT, and especially in Melbourne. So somebody who's cracked the job in IT at a very senior role in IT. So we are going to talk to Willem. And on Wednesday, we are going to talk about movement in career, movement around job search. There's another nuances on job search as well. So have a great weekend, everyone. If you are in Melbourne or Victoria, please mask up. If you are anywhere else, please look after yourself and your family members. And we will see you back again on Monday. See you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.